Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. It is Friday. Let's take a look at the calendar. November 5th, 2021. It's a beautiful day here on the east coast of the United States on Long Island. It's gorgeous, a little chilly, but still beautiful. As many of you know, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I work with both individuals and organizations to help them get measurable and sustainable sales increases. And I founded the Sales Pro Network as a place where salespeople can come and hang out, ask questions, get coaching, get advice, share their successes, their challenges, even their failures, whatever they need to do. And every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, I either do a live training or I bring you an incredible guest who can add value to the profession of sales. And I know I say this all the time, but once again, today is no exception. It's my pleasure to welcome back my friend, the sales confidence coach, Brian McNeill. Good morning, Brian.
Thank you very much, and welcome back is right. That's exciting. I didn't even think about it. This is my second time here. Thank you.
You're one of very few who've come back a second time who I've thought to invite. And it was really because you had a great idea, which we're going to talk about today. One of the things we're going to cover today is fear of closing. Why do we fear closing the deal, my friends? Brian and I are going to talk about that today. But before we do, Brian, for those who may not have caught your appearance last time, could you just tell a little bit about yourself and your journey? What brought you to become the sales confidence coach?
Absolutely. My name is Brian K. McNeill. I am the sales confidence coach today. But I haven't always been the sales confidence coach. I used to be just a regular straight commission salesperson. And when I started discovering books on sales, I started devouring them and I got better and better. And then I started training. I became a corporate sales trainer and the legend grew from there. I've written 4 books on how to sell yourself and your services for the past 29 years. That has been my full-time work, helping people to sell themselves and their services better than they ever have before so they can earn more money than ever before. Last year, my coach, Jeff and I had a wonderful conversation before we came live about how coaches use coaches. But last year, one of my coaches says, Brian, start interviewing your past clients and find out what is it that they really got from you. And I started asking, I asked a bunch of clients, what do you think you got from your time with me? And the largest, most profound word they got from their time with me was confidence. So last year in November, so it's been a whole year, I've been wearing this moniker of the sales confidence coach.
That's fantastic. I think I shared with you that I had the same experience about a year and a half ago. I was debriefing with a client after about a year and a half engagement, a consulting engagement. And I was asking the entire sales management team, what did you like best about working with me? And of course, I wanted to know what could I have done better, all that stuff. But I was amazed to hear, because I had never heard it before. The thing they liked best about working with me was that, Jeff, our salespeople now have more confidence. And it never occurred to me that one of the things I do or you do is give people more confidence. We teach them skills and tools and tips and techniques, and we work on the mind game. But it never occurred to me that confidence was something that we give them. Of course, I'm sure that like you, everybody who I speak with, every prospect, I say, well, one of the things that my clients tell me they like best is that when I get done working with them, their salespeople have more confidence. And we need confidence, don't we? We can't be shy and retiring, can we?
No, we do need confidence. And the confidence is deserved if you know what you're doing, if you're certain that they're better off. The whole conversation about when people say stuff like, I don't like selling or I'm afraid to close, both of those things are frankly not true. They're lies, but people believe them. And I can prove that they're not true. And we're going to do that today. People who say they don't like to sell, people that say they're afraid to sell, we're going to talk about why that's just not true. And I can prove it to you and what's getting in your way. And I'll prove how to get that out of your way today.
I love that. We're looking for proof. Absolutely. But before we get to that, you and I had a very brief conversation before we came on live, and you were telling me that you had a sudden realization about your online course. And I think that would be really valuable to share with the viewers. By the way, if you're watching us live, please say hello. If you have not connected your Facebook to StreamYard, please put your name in when you say hi. If you have any questions for Brian as we go along, please put them in the chat. I'll make sure that he answers them. And if you're watching us on the replay, just put replay in the chat too. All right, Brian. So tell us a little bit about what we were talking about before about your online course and your realization.
Absolutely. And I could have this kind of conversation with Jeff because I respect him as a sales coach. He's my peer in the marketplace. And I said to Jeff this morning, man, I caught myself making a sales mistake. And it was a big sales mistake. And I should know better. I'm the sales confidence coach. I was studying, I built some online courses, and my ideal is to sell these online courses to the marketplace. on demand. That way they can get the training on demand, not dependent upon me being anywhere. I'm being there. So I put together a really, really great course, call it the New Start. And I wanted to sell this course. And I realized this morning that no one wants to buy an online course. No one wants to buy a course. They want to buy what the course will do for them. Just like every year, millions of quarter-inch drill bits are sold, but no one wants to buy a quarter-inch drill bit. They want the whole. Just like every year, millions of beds are sold, but no one wants to buy a bed. They want a comfortable night's sleep. So I was selling it backwards. I was selling what it is versus what it does. And I had to slap my own hand. Brian, they don't want that. They want the results. Sell the results and not the daggone course.
Even coaches make mistakes. It's easy to get sucked in because it's so easy. I like to boil things down to their most fundamental level because that makes it easy to understand for everybody. And it really boils down to the difference between features and benefits. And, we've all heard that a million times, but it's true. Yeah. And I love the expression you used. I actually worked with a company that sold drill bits, but people aren't interested in drill bits. What they want is holes. People don't want an online course. They want to increase their sales. So brilliant. And it's such a great realization that, even experts make mistakes, and we all need somebody who can point that out to us if we don't have that realization for ourselves. Good morning, Magdalena. I hope I pronounced your last name. Kulitz. I hope that's your name. Good morning, Steve Kent. Always good to see you here. Same for you, Keith Ginsburg. Always a pleasure. Ben Gibbs says, when it's Jeff and Brian, it's a winner. Thank you, Ben. And Bonnie Levine, I'm guessing, yes. Hi, Jeff and everyone. Apparently, Don Levine, our executive recruiter from Westbury, New York, is tuned in on his wife's account. Looks like she might be a little better looking from that picture, but he's a handsome devil too. So, I happen to know Don personally. He is a handsome devil, even though he's about 110 years old like me.
Wow.
Us old guys know a few things. So let's get into it. We wanted to talk about, Facebook user says, hi, and I lost your picture. Well, if somebody else would please just let us know, can you still see us? I don't know if it's your issue on your end. I hope the rest of you can see and hear us. If somebody would please, maybe Ben or Steve or Keith, just let us know if you can still see and hear us. So let's break it. I think we should break it down step by step. We definitely want to get to the end of the process, which is fear of closing, but there's fear all the way through. Would you agree?
Yes, but it's unfounded. I'm glad that we're going step by step here. First off, let me address people who think that they don't like to sell or find selling itself distasteful or don't like the act. If anyone, like if you've done audience and say, how many people here don't like to sell or don't like to close sales? Most of the room will say they don't like to close sales. And I'm here to tell you that's just not true. Now think about it. Has anyone ever bought anything from you where they gave you money in exchange for what you were offering? And you got that money for what you offer, and you thought to yourself, I did not like the fact that they paid me for what I offered. No, you never thought that. Has anyone come along with your way of thinking, and when it was doing what you suggested, you thought, I don't like them taking my suggestions? No, you don't do that at all. You actually love to sell. You like to get that part done. The parts you don't like are the potential for rejection and the not knowing what to say first, second, and third. That's the part you don't like, but that's not the selling part. That's the part before you get to the selling part. And the parts that you don't like can be taught and trained on. So you actually do love, and I think if you allow yourself to realize that, yes, you do like for them to give you money in exchange for what you're offering, you can stop making that confession over and over and over again, convincing your subconscious mind that I'm poor at selling and I don't like it. If you keep telling yourself that over and over and over again, just like telling someone that you can't dance, okay? Well, yes, you can, okay? You just don't dance like them. So I'm gonna give you some room there. Did you want to piggyback on that?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of it boils down to the fact that salespeople often have a misconception about what selling is. Mm-hmm. Nobody likes to be pressured. We've all been at the other end of a sales pitch, a word I hate, or a retail salesperson that's overly aggressive, just in your face constantly. And nobody likes that. And I think that's a large part of why salespeople say they don't like selling, or they even describe selling poorly. I will almost always, when I have a large audience, I'll ask, tell me some of the words that come to mind for you when I say sell or sale or salesperson. And we're talking about professional salespeople here, not the average person on the street. Professional salespeople who are about to receive training from me describe sales like this. sleazy, slimy, liar, thief, cheat, willing to say or do anything to take your money. Now, these are professional salespeople describing what they do for a living. So it's no shock that they think I don't like to sell. And the other part of that to me is that they think that selling is about convincing somebody of something or persuading somebody of something or talking somebody into something. And to me, that's truly not what it's about. My definition is much simpler. Sales is a conversation or a series of conversations leading to help the other person choose to do business with you. Here's my belief, Brian. As good as you are and I am put together, and as good as everybody else on this call is, and everybody they know, all put together, as good as we all are, none of us is good enough to talk anybody into anything that they don't want, don't need, or can't afford, unless we're willing to lie, cheat, or steal, which I'm not. So I think it's that misconception of what the job's about that gets them to say, I hate selling. I got to talk people into things. How about this? I like having chats because that's what selling's about. Just enjoy the chat, enjoy the process. And almost, look, I'm well aware that at the end, the result we're all looking for is, I want to close a deal. I want this person to choose to do business with me so I get their money and they get my product or service. But when you take away the, I've got to close business, that commission breath that prospects can smell, and you just focus on, let me have some great conversations and let me make sure I'm having plenty of them so that some people are buying from me, you get to relax into it. Does that sound right to you?
It does. So much meat on that bone. 3 places I wanted to pop in. But let me just go back there. The first place, that whole part about they describe selling as distasteful and all those phrases, and these are sales professionals. I'm saddened by that, but I can understand that. They've seen enough movies, they've had enough experiences, they've read enough books where that's how they depict the salesperson. But I do believe, because at one time in this country, the salesperson had the advantage over the consumer. They could say and do anything because they knew what it really cost, what it really did, and the consumer had the hope that the salesperson was honest. But today, that's not the case. You don't have any advantages. They can Google you right in your face. They can check out your reviews right in your face. And that's what they're going to do. It's vain for you to think they're not going to check out your reviews. It's vain for you to think they're not going to check out your testimonials. So you can't get away with being the browbeater anymore. You can't get away with that anymore. Think about when the last time you even saw that. It just doesn't happen anymore. But people still have that old saw stuck in them. So it was sad to hear them say that. The other thing, too, where was the other place you were going? The way I see sales today. I like how Jeff sees sales today. I see selling today as an act of motivation. It's not transactional as it used to be. It used to be, you get my stuff, I get your money, okay? Or you give me your money, you get my stuff. That's it, and that's it. But today, it's more of an act of motivating people to take an action that is in their best interest. Motivating them to take an action that's in their best interest that they really want to do. I do not like it when people say, Brian, you're so awesome. You can sell anything. Ice to Eskimos. And I say, I appreciate where you're going with it, but what you're describing is a con man. And that's not me. Okay. I can't sell ice to Eskimos. I can only sell what someone believes is in their best interest that they want. Okay. I can't sell it because I want to sell it because I don't live with them. You know, even people that compliment me so much, why did you decide to do business with me today? Because you're so awesome. I appreciate the compliment, but I don't live with you. What do you see for yourself? Okay, so it's just a way of looking at things, and it's subtle. It's just a couple of ticks off. You know, the way they're looking at it as sleazy, slimy activity versus helping someone. The word sell, the origination of the word sell is different. If you understand the origination of the word, it comes from a Greek word called 2 words, sell and ye, which literally mean to help. The activity is supposed to be to help somebody. Okay. The Old English origination comes from the word salon, which means willing to give up. So if you're willing to give it up, if you're willing to be helpful, that's what selling is supposed to be. I'm a purist when it comes to that.
I'm with you. Or as Zig Ziglar, the famous Zig Ziglar used to say, that it comes from the Swedish word sälja, S-E-L-J-E, which means to serve. It actually doesn't, because I looked it up, but I love that idea. And I'm the kind of guy, when I hear that, I'm going to check it out. It does.
Don't make me spit up my coffee.
But I'm with you 1,000,000%. You know, I've had that compliment 1,000,000 times too. You could sell ice to Eskimos, but you're absolutely right. only a con person, a con man, could sell ice to Eskimos. And this was my argument, and I've had it with many people. And I actually got in touch with MSNBC because I wanted to come and argue the point. So I don't care what anybody thinks, which side of the aisle you're on, what you think about the last president. You love him, you hate him, that's up to you. But I took issue every time I heard people on TV saying, oh, Trump, great salesperson. No, he's not. He's a great con man. He's not a great salesperson.
Yeah, I've heard it too. And it strikes me to my core. I felt like I got punched in the belly because I love selling so much. I don't want people to associate selling to that act.
Yeah, exactly right. Don't care what you think about his politics. That's up to each and every person individually. But a great salesperson? No. He's a great con artist. He's brilliant at that, by the way. But that's not what selling's about. And it is salespeople like that. Certainly years ago, it was more prevalent, but there's still plenty. They give all of us a bad name. So we have to work really hard to make sure we're not that person.
I just caught myself saying some brilliance. I just realized in talking with you, one of the reasons why I've been wonderfully successful, because I love it. I love it. It's the classic salesperson story of the two salespeople working in a diamond store. And one guy knows all about cut, clarity, and carat. He understands the difference between Israeli diamonds versus African diamonds. And he's very proud. He's a gemologist. He's very proud to explain all the stuff when people come in the store. And the other salesperson in the office doesn't know nearly as much, but outsells him every single month by a lot. The first guy's boggled. How can he doesn't know anything about diamonds like I do? How can he make that much money? And the other guy just simply loves diamonds. Okay. That's it. He sells it with love. He sells it with love. Are you sure the person that buys your stuff are better off? Okay. We want to talk about why people are afraid to sell. I know why they're afraid to sell. I know why they're afraid to close. And if you're ready for me to tell it, I'll tell it.
First, let me say good morning to a few people.
Okay,
good morning,
sure.
Chris Jones. Chris Jones says, hi, Jeff. This is needed. Good. You're in the right place, Chris. Good morning to Fran Cole Hebler down in Texas. Always good to see you. Katie Karlovitz says she can see us now. And I'm not sure who this, but this might be Katie also. Closing should be a natural step in the process that if you have genuine discussions about what prospects really need and want. Well, that's right in line with what I say too. Closing is the natural outcome of the sales process done right. So let's get into it, Brian.
It's just one little trick about that, though. It should be. But the challenge is most entrepreneurs today won't ever even ask for business. They don't. They don't close. What they do is they just hope. They do all that other stuff, great presentations, and then hope the client says, hey, I like what you got. Can I get it from you? And I call that low probability selling. That last statement would be true if you remember to ask for the business.
Yeah, the goal of any sales process should be to get to the end and have the other person say, sounds good, sign me up. Except you and I both know that's not the way it usually works. We do have to invite people to do business with us. So,
yes.
So let's get into it now, Brian. So let's talk a little bit about the fear of selling and closing. What do you consider to be the first step in the sales process? And, most of us say the same things with just different words, but what's the first step to you?
The first step in the sales process, determine, is there a problem that you can solve with your stuff? Is there something that you can help be better, okay, with what you have? So
a needs analysis, some questioning.
Okay, yes. If I'm talking to the person, understanding of their challenge or their problem, understanding this, yes, a needs analysis, a questioning. If I can understand their challenge, and if I can articulate what they perceive as their challenge, sometimes that's tricky, then I can see how I can be helpful. Now, I also keep my focus kind of narrow. I'm not trying to solve all of their problems. I'm only trying to solve the problem that I can solve, helping them to sell themselves and their services. To the salespeople on here, I hope you heard what I just said there. You're not trying to solve all their problems. And your job is not to see how many objections you can overcome. That's not it either. You're not trying to overcome objections, all of them. You're not trying to do all of this. You're trying to solve their problem and only overcome the objection that matters. The only one that matters. Okay, that's it. The rest of them could be smokescreens.
Yep. So I would back it up one step further. Before the needs analysis, I say there's a need to establish rapport. And most people, they're pretty cheesy about the way they do that. Why are they so cheesy, and why are they afraid to be authentic with people?
It's two things. One is they gotten bad counsel, and the other is they focus too much on being liked. This is killing people today. Being liked. They are trying to be liked. There's a lot of people that you like that you've never done business with. And there's a lot of people that like you and never done business with you either. I teach the 7 reasons why people will historically and enthusiastically give up their money to work with someone, why they will hire you. And the top 7 reasons why they will hire you, none of them include how much they like you. People got this whole thing tripped up. They think selling is being well liked. That's the character in the movie Death of a Salesman, Willie Loman. He thought the key to being a great salesman was being well liked, and he died broke. Okay. But that's not the key to selling. It's not how well you're liked. It's how much you can be helpful and what you can do. I teach them how about time and money and good feelings, solutions to a problem, how you improve them in certain ways. That whole concept of people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Even that concept, even though it's been proliferated so much, is an abbreviation over the original Greek formula, which is people must like you before they can listen to you before they can trust you, and trust you before they can buy from you. They have to like you just enough to hear you. They don't have to be your best friend. You don't have to be in their wedding. You have to like you enough to hear what you have to offer. And what you have to offer has to be worth the money that you're asking for, or significantly, what they're getting is significantly greater than the money you're asking for. So this whole thing about trying to sell by being liked, that's what's holding a lot of people back. That's what they think it is, but it's simply not.
Yeah, I think it's useful to be likable. I think more important is the other side. Usually you hear people say you do business with people you like and trust. And I think the trust part is the most important part. However, given 2 equal offerings from 2 salespeople, if you like one better than the other,
they'll
you're
do
probably
business
going to do business
like
with them.
more. Yeah. I like the sales guy more, if that's the case. Yes.
Yep. But it's really the trust factor that's more important to me. And I think that people have been trained poorly, like you said. They've been taught cheesy stuff. Oh, you wear ties, I wear ties. Oh, you have a beard, I have a beard. You have a wedding band, I used to have one of those too. There are better ways to establish rapport. And it's a matter of they just don't know what to say. So that's that fear.
I wish I had called you last week, Jeff, because I had an interview last Friday, actually, and it was a businesswoman, and it was a businesswoman's group. And I needed to talk to you, Jeff, because when I told this lady, these group of women, and the interviewer, she was really good. She was I was explaining to them how most entrepreneurs never ask for business. And if they do, they'll ask for it once or twice and then never again. And I explained to her how I believe the average sale happens after the 5th attempt. So, but only the champions will follow up the requisite 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times over time. Only champions. And it blew them away. Says, no, we've been trained that you only ask for the business once or twice and let them go. You never ask again after that. Because why bother people? And I was like, no, you're not. See, you think you're bothering them if you're not convinced that they're better off at what you're offering. If you're not convinced,
that's that fear. They're afraid that they're bothering people.
Why are they afraid they're bothering people? Are they better off? Here's when people say stuff like, I don't want to bother them. You're thinking about yourself. I don't want to close because you're afraid of how they're going to see you if you ask for the money. You're thinking about yourself, which is the opposite of what you should be focused on. You should be focused on how they're better off. Okay. If you're certain that they're better off, if they give you the money in exchange for what you're offering, then don't you owe it to them to motivate them to take an action? I've gone back to, again, this is an act of motivation. Are they better off? Okay. The whole concept of the sin of the desert is when you know where the water is, but you won't tell anyone else. You know where the solution is, but you keep it to yourself. The sin of the desert is the height of selfishness. You're being selfish when you're focused on how are they going to see me versus how much better their lives are improved.
Bingo. Yeah. So look, I don't want to bother anybody. It's not my job to be a pest, but my belief is this. We, you, me, and every salesperson out there, we owe it to our prospects to give them all the information they need to establish that rapport, to get the information we need, and to give them enough information to make an intelligent decision. And if we don't ask for the business, we're doing them and us a disservice. How are you going to feed your family if you can't?
That's why I need to talk to you, because I was discouraged from these ladies. I know what I'm talking about, but they really believe that bad counsel.
Let's get on a conversation with them. Let's get them on a call.
Okay. Maybe you and I together can help them.
So now we've gone through the information gathering process, which is crucial. And hopefully we've confirmed the information we've gotten to make sure that we understand it. To me, the next step is the presentation phase, where we're going to share our plan or proposal. Is that the way it works in your world?
Yes. However, okay. If you're selling a service, an intangible service, I am of the belief that you can sell your entire service completely in about 4 minutes. Okay. The whole sale could be done in about 4 minutes. And the details come after that. But for them deciding that they're better off with it, the whole thing can be done quickly.
Before you move on, let's be clear about something. You're not saying the whole sales process takes 4 minutes, but the part about where we're saying, here's what I'm going to do for you, that's not the longest part of the sales process.
No, and them agreeing that that's a benefit that they want. That's it. Yes, that's not the whole how to get it done. That's not the details. That's just them understanding what it is that you have to offer and them agreeing that they would be better off having it than not. Done in about 4 minutes. And to me, once people want to do business together, the details will work themselves out.
Okay. Yep, exactly. And I think the fear at the presentation phase or the proposal phase is people think, okay, I'm getting down to where I'm either going to get a deal or not. And right after I talk about this, I'm going to talk about the scary thing, which is the money. And that's why I think a lot of salespeople get very nervous. In fact, they often blow it right then and there. And I'm going to give you a quick example. And I think I shared this a couple of weeks ago here in the Sales Pro Network. I was on a call with a couple of guys from Australia. I had actually contacted them because I was very interested in the service they had to offer. It was recommended to me by somebody like you who I respect. And I said, I got to get on the call with these guys. And they're doing a great job. Now, I'm sure that like me, when you're listening to somebody trying to sell you something, you're in two places at the same time. One is I'm listening very carefully to what they have to offer because I want to evaluate, is it right for me? And the other side of me is, what kind of job are they doing? Are they selling?
I always do. I love it, actually.
I love a great sales pitch. So these guys are doing a fantastic job the whole way through until they got to the money part. And I'm watching carefully because I know this is where salespeople often blow it. I saw the guy who was leading the conversation get nervous. He started fidgeting in his chair, and his voice had been super confident up until that point, became very tentative. And in my mind, not my sales coach mind, but in my mind, I'm going, I'll bet this is going to be a lot of money because he seems nervous about what he's about to say. And sure enough, it was a substantial investment, but that's where he blew it. So much so that after we got done, I said, can I share some feedback with you? And he said, sure. And I told him, you were great up until that moment. And when I said the thing where you blew it was when you talked about the money, he goes, I know, I'm always nervous that we're charging too much. That comes across to the prospect. Yeah. Even though you're not saying the words, the prospect feels it. You got to have supreme confidence.
Here's the
like
thing
the
about
confidence
that.
Coach.
Judge Ziegler, Zig Ziglar's older brother, wrote a book called Timid Salesmen Have Skinny Kids. Okay. Timid salesmen have skinny kids. The premise is the way you offer it. If you offer your stuff timidly, they're going to accept timidly. If you're afraid to say what it is, they're going to be afraid to accept what it is. You should brag if you have a higher price. You should brag if your stuff is expensive instead of being afraid of it. Who wants to buy from the lowest price person anyway? Okay. The thing that those guys were afraid of, they should act as if it was the best part. Now, it's interesting to me, and this is help me, Jeff, so that I don't let anybody get tripped up by what I'm about to say. If you catch me saying it in a funny way, catch me, okay? But the highest paying profession in the United States, on average, is professional athlete. Basketball, baseball, football players, on average, earn about $5.5 million a year, in the NBA, just the average person. That's the highest paying profession on average. And the second highest paying profession in our country on average is actors and actresses. Okay. A bit player on a sitcom is going to make $185,000 a week. Okay. Without saying much. And then the third highest paying profession on average is sales, from everything. And it's interesting that the three highest paying professions on average can probably all fit into the category of the entertainment field. Because when you are presenting, you are just as much a performer as an actor or actress. You should be performing as one of the top people in your industry. You do need to not ever wing it. You should know where you're going, but it's a performance, lights, camera, action, and in an effort to earn their business the right way. Now, you can perform as a champion by deciding, like you can make yourself feel sad by making your face sad and slumping your shoulders. You can make yourself feel excited by raising your shoulders back and putting a smile on your face. But you must perform as the champions will perform in order to get that kind of results. Does that make sense, Jeff?
It makes perfect sense. And you do have to have, it's right in your title, that confidence. I'm pretty sure, I don't know him personally, but I'm pretty sure that Michael Jordan never stood at the free throw line and said, I hope I make this shot.
No, he never did. He expected, and he has a right to expect because he had practiced. Okay. If you practice your game, by the way, champions practice before the game. Amateurs practice in front of their best prospect. Message. Okay. But if you have practiced your free throw shooting, you have every right to expect to make it. Okay. You should expect to make it.
And if you've done your job properly, when you state your fee, the investment, whatever you want to call it, with confidence, it should be as if, of course, this person's going to say yes. Of course, they're going to see that I'm well worth. Look, I don't work cheap, but every time I give a number, and I don't care whether it's, what I charge per hour for coaching or what I'm charging for a consulting engagement, which can be $150,000, $200,000 for me. It's always, and the investment is just $150,000. And you state it as if, of course, this is a very reasonable number.
And they say 150. I say, yes, I told you I was take care of you guys. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I like when they say to me up front, is this going to be expensive, Brian? I say yes. And then I let it go because I don't have to explain it no more. Yes, this is going to be expensive. And just keep going. And at the end, when they hear my number, and someone else, if there's more than one person, he told you it was going to be expensive. But that's not the point. It doesn't matter how much we charge if they're getting a return on investment. I had real estate companies, they don't care what I charge if they can believe they're going to get more money back from it.
Of course.
Okay. It doesn't matter. It's $100,000. Okay. But if they believe they're going to make $1 million, it doesn't matter what you charge. No one wants the cheapest one anyway. Okay. They don't want that anyway.
Look, okay? there are coaches that charge incredible amounts of money. I mean, Jay Abraham, I believe, gets $100,000 a day. A day. Tony Robbins, I heard at one point, I think he was charging $1 million a session, but he's the guy, or maybe it was $1 million a year for private coaching, something like that. Now, you got to believe that when Tony Robbins stands in front of somebody, if that's the right number, and says, well, I know it's a lot of money, but it's $1 million.
Not once.
He's not thinking that. He's thinking, man, this is an amazing investment on your part. And that's the word I suggest people use when they're asking for money. It's not about the cost. It's the investment is just, because investment implies there's going to be a return. And if they're not getting a return, then we are ripoff artists.
Yep. Alan Weiss, who wrote the book Money Talks and The Millionaire Speaker, he's gotten to that point of where he's irreverent. He considers the question how much you charge an amateurish question, okay? Because he doesn't charge based upon what he charges. He charges based upon the results. He called it results-based pricing is what he charges. Okay, what result are we trying to get here? And how much is that result worth to you? Is it worth this much money to you to get this result? Because that's what he's going to charge you, okay?
Yeah, and your point is well made. It's not about the investment; it's about the return. Look, if I charge $100,000 an hour for coaching, and of course I charge way more, but if I charge $100,000 for an hour of coaching, but you earn $200,000 because of that, was that expensive? It was a lot of money, but it was a great return on investment. Look, I belong to a networking group. It's more expensive than almost every other networking group I've ever met, except there's not a single year where I haven't gotten 10 times return. Most years, way more. So I'll invest $3,600 to get $40,000 every single day. That's a great return on investment.
$3,600 to get $40,000. Come on. Who wouldn't do that?
All day long. Okay. Is that a lot of money for a networking group? It sure is, because most of them are way less than that. But I don't care, because I'm making that 40 or more each year. I think we need to stop looking at the price and look at what's that price, what's that investment going to do for me? It doesn't make any sense.
These agencies, the bigger real estate companies, they had to reteach me that. This is the second time I'm not confessing something that I was making a mistake on. They didn't care what I charged, okay? Because the real estate agents believed that Brian's going to help them make more money, and it did, okay? I could have charged more, and I charged them a lot, okay? It doesn't matter how much I charge. It matters how much money they're going to believe. I was in the game a long time, friends, on this show before I understood the people that pay you speak a different language than the people that just enjoy you, okay? The people that enjoy your talk and your presentation and all that kind of stuff, they're hoping to pick up a nugget or two or a tip or two and then go try doing it on their own. But the people that actually pay you, they care a whole lot more about what they're left with after you're done. What they're left with after you've done your thing. Like if I were to do a workshop, what are they going to get? You're going to get a sales force that closes at a higher percentage and less retention. I mean, less turnover. They're going to get salespeople that love what they do more and they earn more money doing it. That's what they're going to get. That's the language of the person that's going to pay me. That's what they care about.
Yeah. And so we've got to get better at our languaging to help the other person or people see the value in that investment, that there is going to be look, I don't work cheap. I know you don't either. My coach charges more than I do, and I charge a pretty decent amount per hour, except you know what? The investment is well made. My business has skyrocketed. My personal life has changed dramatically since working with her. And if it didn't, after a few months, I would have said, it's not worth it. But it proves itself time after time. It's money I'm happy to lay out. And it's substantial.
That's a significant point. That's a significant point. You're happy to lay it out because you see value. Your ideal clients do not want you to give them a low rate, a low price. They don't want that. They want to pay more. What's the book? Selling the Invisible by Christy Brinkley. You know, she talked about how you must charge significantly more than what you're charging right now because the clients you want won't respect you if you don't. Okay, you got to charge more.
Brilliant point. You know, I don't want people to hear that we're saying you should charge an obscene amount that's not worth what you do. But I'll tell you something. I certainly, like most people, I judge based on what you're going to charge. I mean, if you say, "Oh yeah, I get $50 an hour for coaching," I'm going to go, I think I need a better coach. If you tell me you charge $1,000 an hour, I'm going to go, wow, that's a coach I want. I'm not sure if I want to lay out $1,000, but man, that's somebody I definitely want to work with. Because clearly, either they're a ripoff artist, which I'll discover pretty quickly, or they're going to deliver $1,000 an hour worth of value.
Yeah, you can't. I've been in that game for a long time. I got out of it years ago, and you find yourself earning more and having to work less because even though I had a coach tell me one time, Brian, if you're trying to sell your coaching services to business executives, they are not accustomed to the dollar amount that you're charging here. This is years ago, maybe 10 years ago. I said, what are you talking about? Brian, they're accustomed to spending a lot more than what you're charging. And if you don't charge a lot more for this, that you can't even get in the door. You know, this is one of my coaches. I'm like, are you kidding me? No, man, you got to charge significantly more. And I did. And I got clients easier. Man, I was doing all kinds of gymnastics to try to get the business with my lower rate. Okay. I was giving them copies of my book and all that kind of stuff. And didn't matter. Charged 10 grand for the same thing I was going to charge significantly less for. They respected me more and they opened up a door.
It's counterintuitive. You would think that by charging less, more people would take advantage, except that's not the way it works. People see value in paying more, not overpaying, but paying for full value. Look, I don't even know if they're in business anymore anywhere in the country, but when they were around, you could buy a suit at Sears for about $69. I have ties that cost twice that and 3 times that.
Right.
Because I don't see a value in buying a $69 suit. I see a value in paying $150 for a tie or $550 for a sport jacket or $2,000 for whatever it is. There's an implied value when the price is higher. And I want everybody to realize neither Brian nor myself is saying you should charge more than you're worth, but you should absolutely be asking what you're worth. And you may be talking yourself out of sales by trying to go cheap. So, Brian,
if you don't know how much you should be charging right now, if you have that thought about, am I charging enough? If that's in your head at all, I'm going to tell you a rule of thumb to fix that problem. If you're not sure if you're charging enough, that means you don't know. So the first thing you do, and hear me clearly, is double your current rates. If you're not sure, just double your current rates. Do that now, and then you'll find on the first person that you offered your new rate to, it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same responses and the same number of people will accept, if not more. It'll be fun to you. Remember this. Just double it and see what happens.
Yes, I have this conversation with other business owners all the time because they'll come to me like I know they come to you with, hey, Jeff, I'm not making enough money. And I'll say the same thing. What are you charging? Charge more. And they get very nervous. And that's the time they have to really shift their mindset. Because when you speak price, when you speak investment, whatever you're going to call it, that is the time for supreme confidence. That's when the sales confidence coach really comes in. Because if you get nervous,
brag on your high rates, brag on it, not apologize for it. I used to learn, this is back in the day, we can't sell like this today, but we used to learn closes, and I used to teach closes. And one of the things when people says your price is too high, one of the responses I learned was, my company made a decision many years ago. We'd apologize one time for our high rates instead of having to apologize again and again for poor quality. Okay. And so And once I said that little line or something like that to them, they were like, oh, good. I don't want to apologize for poor quality. I'd rather pay the higher rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, your price is too high is a bad objection to get, because what it means is you, not you, Brian, but whoever's doing the selling, you didn't do a good enough job.
Yeah.
If somebody says your price is too high, that's on you, not them. You did not do a good enough job of showing them how the investment was going to pay off. I can't afford it. That's a different objection. And that one I can understand. Look, I've spoken to companies and individuals that say, oh, I would love to work with you. I just can't afford it. I get that. That means I'm not right for them. Let me introduce them to somebody who I know.
Find the money. Okay.
Let me introduce them to somebody I know who works less expensively. That's great. But the price is too high. That one's on me. It means I didn't show them the value. So yeah. let's get to
philosophically. I never believe anybody when they say they don't have the money. I just choose not to believe them, because people will find the money for what they want. That means they don't want it enough yet. That's my thought. If they say my price is too high, or if they don't have them, Brian, we just don't have the money in our budget. Okay. I wasn't at their budget meeting, so I don't care about their budget. Okay. So I'll help them. That's why you need to hire me now, because you can't afford to keep doing it the way you've been doing it. Find the money. Let's go to work. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
So let's get to what we promised everybody, which was the fear of closing. So we've talked about the sales process.
Yes.
And there's that thing that everybody gets to. So now we've talked about the price, and we've shown them what we're going to do for them. And we've done everything we possibly can. And we've made friends. We've asked questions. And now we get down to that moment where we're going to say, will you buy from me? Why are salespeople so damn afraid of saying, will you buy from me? And whatever words they're going to use.
Yeah, it's because, again, back on what I said before, they're thinking about themselves versus thinking about the clients. So here's one solution that you could do. Once you believe they fully understand what it is that they'll be gaining by working with you, and when you're sure they understand what it is, and you're at that point, instead of saying it's going to be $10,000, ask them, will you give my services a try? Will you give us a try? I believe it's such a non-threatening way to ask for a business, and it doesn't come across as if it's a closing door. Will you give us a try? That's what I say. Okay, and that's what I teach people to say. Will you give us a try? Yes, I want to give you a try. Okay, or no matter what they say, even if they say that, it's hard for people to say no, they won't give you a try. Very difficult. So that's one toy you can play with. Instead of trying to close a sale mentally, it's time for me to close. It's time for me to ask them, will they give us a try? Okay, that's just a toy to play with.
Okay. So yeah, I think it boils down to two things. Fear of closing comes down to, one, this is the moment of truth. I'm either going to hear yes or no, and nobody likes to hear no, although I suggest no should be your best friend. I like yes better.
Not only do nobody like to hear no, but most people won't even say no. They'll give you other things because no comes across as too final. Think about your business. How many times have you even heard anyone say no to your offer? They don't even want to say it. Okay. Especially if they believe they're better off having it. I always go back to that. Selling ideologies. Jeff mentioned features and benefits selling ideology. There's another one, consultative selling, Socratic selling, hurt and rescue selling. I like hurt and rescue selling myself, where you uncover the problem they're already having. You talk about it briefly, the problem they're already having. You talk about how expensive it is for them to keep that problem. And then you rescue them with your services. If you let me help you, you won't have that challenge anymore.
Yeah, okay. I think this is Katie Karlovitz says, I get no, but not often. And yes, I rarely hear the word no. People will do other things that mean no, but we don't want to listen to it. Like, give me some time to think it over, or I've got to take it to the committee, or whatever it is. But, we should learn to be listening for the no. Salespeople don't want to hear no. We're afraid of it. What am I going to do if they say no? And have I lost the deal? So I think that's where that fear comes from. One is, I know this is the moment of truth, and I don't want to hear the no. The other one is they simply don't know the words to say. Like you saying, hey, will you give us a try? Or what I teach, I call it the in my professional opinion close. And it's just like this. You've gone through your presentation. You've shared everything that you can with them so that they see the value. And then it's simply, Brian, in my professional opinion, that's the plan that makes sense to me and what I believe we should do to move forward. What do you think? That's the whole close. There's no trick in there.
Right.
It's simply designed to get people to say, yes, I'm interested and I want to move forward, or no, I don't. And I can work with either of those. I can work with yes, certainly, sign here, Or I can work with no, because now it's time to find out what the no's about. Actually, you should have found out beforehand. But if you do get to the end and then somebody's honest enough to say no, let's find out what's going on. But I don't really understand the fear. I mean, I understand why people do it. It just doesn't make sense.
I think they're thinking about them, how they're going to look. And I appreciate your comment, Mr. John Richardson. And I can defend my position there. He says that's kind of insensitive. A lot of companies that need your help have waited too long and are in desperate position, like a chicken and eggs. Small companies like mine don't have secret gold rooms where you say, I don't want it enough, or they'll find the money, maybe offer payment plans or subscriptions. If you really believe in yourself, performance-based compensation. I really appreciate that comment, sir. Let me say, I do offer terms, but I don't offer payment plans because payment is a bad selling word. Okay, this is a word that takes you away. And especially down payment is even worse. You know, I believe in good selling words and bad selling words, but I do offer terms to make it fit. And I do believe that people find money for what they want all the time. Even if they're penniless, if a trip came along, they have no money in the bank. A trip comes along that they want to take the trip, they find the money for it. Okay. People find money for what they want. And frankly, John, I've decided to never believe anybody when they say they don't have the money. I've decided to believe that people can find money over and over again for what they want. And I lean back onto, if they try that, is either they don't want it enough or they're not hurting enough with what they have right now. And that's philosophy I carry, and that's what helps me. Okay.
Yep. I'm going to break slightly with my friend Brian in that I do believe people when they say they don't have the money. Okay. Now, here's what I'll say for sure is I've had a lot of clients, prospects who've told me they don't have the money, but then when they see the value, exactly what Brian said, they find the money. In fact, my very first sale when I went off on my own, the very first one, it was a company called Cablevision. They're now called Altice here on Long Island. Huge company, 300 salespeople in one. I mean, they're over 1,000 salespeople between various divisions. And the very first division I worked with, the very first thing they told me was, we'd love to do this. We just don't have the money. That was over the phone, just trying to get the appointment. I said, money? Let's not worry about money yet. Let's just get together and see if you like what I have to offer. And that way, when you have the money, you'll think of me. To which the guy agreed. And 3 weeks later, I was training the company. Because once I got in front of them and showed them the value, they somehow found the money. And what they actually did, I was stunned. They went to their CFO and borrowed the money from their next year's budget because they felt so strongly that I could help them do what they wanted to do. So sometimes people really don't have the money.
All right, for the third time, I'm going to confess something that I made a mistake. I had a chance to speak at a school system in a small town, and I was thinking, there's no way they're going to be able to afford me. School systems don't have any money. That was in my head. Okay. But I knew what I was going to charge, and I was not going to buck on my rates either. I was thinking there's no way they're going to be able to afford me. So I did my presentation anyway, and I told them how much I charge. And they said, well, Brian, we don't have that much money in the budget for this. And I was like, okay. But I didn't say anything right away. I just sat there. And then he said, well, you know what? We could take some money from this budget, and we could take some money from that budget, and we could pull from this budget here, and we could put it together. But can we space it out over 2 installments instead of 1? Yeah, we can make it work. Okay. And I left there thinking I didn't believe they had the money, but they found the money because they wanted it. I don't believe that sales start when they say no. I think that's an old saw. I don't believe that's true. It's not starting when they say no. It starts at the initial greeting. Okay. So it doesn't start because that implies that you're going to have to convince them something. And I don't believe in that. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I understand what you're talking about, Joe. John, that sales really only start when you get a no. You know, it is an old thing. You know, once they say no, now the selling really begins. No, actually, the selling began before you got there.
Way before, yeah.
Your marketing, your branding, all that stuff is part of the sales process, and everything that happens along the way is part of it too. By the way, I've been told it looks like I think that's Esther Horowitz says, Jeff, you better up your game and start streaming from Forest. I might have to go back to virtual backgrounds, Esther.
This is not a virtual background. Look, I'm going to give you guys a secret. This is a tapestry. Cloth. Okay. I've got 3 of them in here. Cloth. You get them on Amazon.
Was it? Guys, I'm an old dude, John Richardson says. You're not as old as me, John, but I appreciate it. Hey, John, if you would put in the comments, what do you do? What do you sell? And I'm betting this is Katie Karlovitz saying, streaming from the beach with the beach bug. We'll have to get a background for that one of these times.
It's just called, I don't want to have to deal with the technology. So, and also sometimes when you move a different way, the lighting, that's why on the green screens, I just move the tapestries.
So how can people get over these fears? How can they actually, I keep getting the wrong person. It was Dennis Lombardi saying it's streaming from the beach with the beach bug. So, given that it's reasonable to have these fears, it's not great, but it is. How can a sales confidence coach instill confidence in somebody else, or what can somebody do to get that confidence that they need?
I don't want it to sound overly simplified. Okay. I'm really not trying to be overly simplified, but it goes back to, are you sure they're better off? It's an exchange. The sales is an exchange. You are trading your big old pile of benefits for their little pile of money. That's how I see it. And if you have a big old pile of benefits that you believe they're better off, then I go into, you owe it to them to motivate them. If you're afraid of asking for the money, it's because you're thinking about yourself. If you think about how they're better, there used to be here's a way to do it. There used to be a TV show in this country called The Millionaire, and it ran in the 60s. Remember The Millionaire? The Millionaire, the premise of the whole show was there was this rich guy, and he used to like to give a check of $1 million to strangers. He used to like to give $1 million checks to strangers. And he had a salesman. The salesman guy name was Michael Anthony. And Michael Anthony's job was to go into neighborhoods and to knock on some stranger's door and try to get in their house and have a conversation with them. And he would knock on the door and say, hey, my name is Michael. I got some time. I'm in your neighborhood. I just want to know if you have time to chat. Maybe we can get to know each other a little bit. And sometimes they'd be very rude to him and slam the door. Get the hell away from me. I don't know who you are. But he had that check for $1 million. So he would just leave their driveway with his attitude fine and go to the next home. And sometimes he would knock on the door and say that, and they say, well, sure, come on in, we got some time. And they pour him a cup of coffee and give him some cake. They tell him about their children and their marriage. And he'd hear these great stories. And he said, well, I have something for you too. And he'd reach in his pocket and give him a check for $1 million. And everyone was happy. The concept is to sell it with the millionaire attitude, because you have something that if they got it from you, they would be so happy to have that thing. And when people are rude, or when you get turned down, you can leave with your attitude still good, because they'd be better off.
Yeah. So I think it starts with knowing how to sell. If you have not read a book, gone to a seminar, worked with a coach like Brian, watched videos on YouTube, if you haven't done something for yourself, you just went into sales and you never studied the art and the science of it, then that's a good place to start. When you get some coaching, training, reading a book, whatever it is, it's going to make you feel better. I often have people tell me that they like working with me because it makes them more confident, because I'm giving them the skills that they need, the tools, the techniques, the tips. If you don't know, then you're winging it. And amateurs wing it, professionals actually plan. And the other thing is the come from. That come from truly has to be, I'm here to serve. I'm here to help you. When you do that, it takes some of the pressure off. And finally, and this is going to sound self-serving, but work with somebody. If you don't have the confidence right now, then find a Brian McNeill. It doesn't have to be me or Brian. There's a million people who do what we do. Maybe we're the top two in the universe, but there's a lot of people. I think I am. There's a lot of people who do what we do. It's useful to work with somebody else. Look, Brian and I were talking before. We both work with a coach, not a sales coach, because we're experts in those industries, but it's useful to have somebody else. When I work with people, I work on both the skills and the mind game. In fact, I brought on a new client recently, and in the first session, of course, what she thought she was going to get was an hour filled with me giving her tips and tools and techniques and strategies. She got 0 of those, absolutely 0, because when I asked her to describe her situation in the first 4 minutes of the conversation, I realized her problem is not skills, it's not techniques, it's not tips. She had a mindset problem. She had no confidence in herself. She told me her whole life story in the first 4 minutes. Her husband left her, her family was pissed. I mean, there's a whole mind game going on there, which it makes it impossible for her to have confidence and speak to people in a way where they're going to say, here's somebody who I want to buy a commercial building from. You want to sell somebody a multi-million-dollar building? You got all that weight on you? No. So working with somebody else like a Brian McNeill, that can be a real lifesaver and can change your game. And I know you're going to agree with this, Brian, because we both feel the same way about it. You want to talk about an investment? There's an investment that's going to pay off. I was sharing with Brian how much my coach charges. It's more than I charge, and I'm happy to pay it.
Yeah.
So I get a return on that investment every single time. Brian, before we go, I wanted to ask you about a couple of other things because, as you know, I follow you on social media. What's up with that love affair with cigars, my friend? You showed a picture of your humidor yesterday. You love cigars.
I do love them. Love them. In 2004, a buddy of mine, another counterpart in business, said, because I wasn't a smoker of any kind, nothing. I smoked nothing. He says, Brian, you need to come hang out at the cigar bars. There's a bunch of older men there with a lot of money, leather chairs, and they're irreverent, and they're telling these stories about these business conquests that they had. And it's just a cool scene. And he kept inviting me just to go, even if you don't smoke a cigar, Brian, just listen to these guys, man. You got to hear them. And I went with him, and I was like hooked. The scene was so sexy. And just like he described, grown men, and these guys were cursing and talking about sports and smoking cigars. It was a men's scene at the time. And it just seemed so cool to me. And I was standing there. I was not a cigar smoker. I was standing there just enjoying the conversation. And someone handed me a stick. And I was like, okay, I know how to do it. My buddy taught me how to do it. And I did it gently. And over the years, man, my love affair, and I find cigar scenes and cigar people are like the most friendly, the most cool scenes. So now I'm an aficionado. Now I'm an enthusiast, and I keep them.
I'm looking forward to seeing your picture on the cover of Cigar Aficionado magazine.
I love it.
I agree with you. It does look sexy. I happen to be a very anti-smoker guy, much like John Richardson, who says sales don't matter if you're dead from lung cancer.
I guess.
But it does.
But you're not inhaling a cigar. It's not a cigarette. You don't inhale it. It's just in your mouth and back out.
Yeah, I hate the smell and the whole thing. but John says that's why I choose booze. John, you're killing it today. I asked John, and he said he got his MBA in marketing 100 years ago. He loves to listen to this stuff. And today he has a mobile media production company and a small bespoke software company. Thanks for that explanation.
I'm glad he loves hearing this stuff. I'm glad anyone found any value in our conversation. I really am.
Yep. Esther says, I'm guilty of this, getting caught up in their emotions, despite the fact that you 100% believe is what you're offering them, and letting their emotions lead you rather than you lead them. That's right. Don't worry about it.
Someone earlier said they understand when people say they don't have the money because I feel the same way. That's your barrier. That's your barrier.
Yep.
You feel that way.
There's something else we share. We do share a love of what we don't share a love of cigars, although I do think they're cool, but we share a love of stand-up comedy. Why stand-up comedy? I know you go pretty often.
I go very often. Yes. First off, I think you need stand-up comedy in your life. You need that release. You and a friend. Now, I always buy 4 tickets when I go. Okay. It's going to be me and my wife, but I always have 2 extra tickets all the time, because I've learned at the stand-up club comedy club we go to, there's 4 people, there's 4 seats at a table. And if you don't buy all 4 seats, they're going to put anybody next to you. So I'd rather have my friends. And very often we just bring 2 friends with us, another couple or just friends with us. So we have all of our own people at the time. I always buy 4 tickets. It's a good time. I'd rather spend the money on that than just have the money. So
yeah, I
we're going to go this weekend too.
And as I've shared with you, I started into the stand-up comedy scene. I've been going to clubs for years and years, but I recently started doing stand-up comedy. And
I think it makes you happier, you just get you doing it and people go. I think you all have to go. You have to go.
Well, for me, there's very little I like better in life than a bunch of people who have to listen to me, which is why I love doing sales training. And stand-up comedy is just like heaven. And I believe it was just a week ago that I interviewed Greg Kettner, and I don't know if you've met him, but you'd love him too. He's a happiness coach. He helps people be happy at work. Great guy to meet. And he's done years of stand-up comedy. And I can't remember whether he said it during the interview or he did it before the interview with me, but I was talking about how I just love getting laughs. When I tell a joke and the audience is laughing, it's like heaven to me. I love getting laughs. And he gave me this great distinction, which also applies to sales. He goes, Jeff, my comedy changed when I stopped trying to get laughs and I started trying to give laughs.
Love it.
And I got to tell you something. I wrote to him later in the day because I was driving somewhere later on, and that conversation just kept running around in my head. I like getting laughs, but I like giving laughs. And that distinction might seem like a small one, but it was really life changing. It really changed my whole attitude.
Yeah.
It's like, my job is not to get laughs. It's to give the audience what they came for, which is that experience that you have in the club. You're there with a bunch of people. You're having this shared experience. You're all laughing at the same thing. And
I love that.
And maybe now more than ever. I mean, there have been tough times before, but we've been living through some very difficult times for the last year and a half, 2 years. And that feeling in a comedy club, that shared joy and shared enthusiasm, just the sheer thrill, the love of the laughter, to me, it's like heaven. So this applies to sales too. Instead of getting laughs, giving laughs, instead of trying to earn money, help people. Just help people. That's where you're going to have the confidence.
I love it.
Brian, I could talk to you all day, and I would love to. Oh, there's one more thing I don't know if he's on today, but you showed me something before we got started. I don't know if Dean Forbes is on today, but you want to hold that up, and then let's show you.
I do. I saw Jeff post last week about a book that he bought from Mr. Dean Forbes, a member of the Sales Pro Network. And if Jeff bought the book, I said, okay, I want it too. So I ordered it and it came in yesterday. So I'm going to crack the book today. And just from our friend's endorsement, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I have my books here as well.
Why don't you show them to us if you would?
Sure. I wrote The Shortcut. It's an Amazon bestseller. The Shortcut, the fastest route to selling your services. The fastest route to selling your services better than you ever have before. The Shortcut. And I also wrote Asking for the Money, how anyone can close more sales, even you. And I even wrote the Not Just for Children's book, Why Rhinos Make Great Salespeople, featuring Mr. Randall the Rhino. But that's
my favorite one right there, Randall the Rhino.
I love it too.
I love that, Brian. And I know you offer coaching, you do speeches, you do training, you have online courses. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in having a conversation with you, Brian?
The simplest way, I'm available everywhere, but the simplest way is just go to my website, briankmcneill.com, BRIAN, the letter K, McNeill. There's 2 L's. If you're researching me on Google, go to Brian K. McNeill. If you pull up just Brian McNeill, you're going to get you'll get me, but you'll also get some banjo player, okay? Some bluegrass singer. But Brian K. McNeill, you'll get a lot of me, okay?
And who does not want a lot of Brian McNeill? I know I do. I can't get enough of you, Brian. Thank you so much for joining us again today and sharing.
Thank you for this opportunity, brother.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I always love talking sales with you, and I love the attitude. I mean, we all need more Brian McNeill in our lives. So thank you all for joining us today. And I'll end as I always do. Please remember, sales is a game of making things happen. So get out there and make sales happen. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. Good selling.
Thank you.